Welcome to the FMCG podcast. Make sure you're following us on Apple Podcasts or Spotify and leave us a 5-star review. It really helps us out. Enjoy the show. Hi, good morning. My name is Rich and this is the FMCG podcast, and we are Consumer Hub. We specialise in recruiting, marketing, innovation and sales professionals across the globe in the FMCG sector and also SaaS sectors. And this podcast is all about speaking to the talent of today within the food and drink sector, hearing their stories, understanding their category insights and also their insights into leadership. Today we are really excited because we've got Joe Moruzzi of Pleese on the show. Now Joe's got a fantastic product. I tried it yesterday. You can see my candid camera reaction on LinkedIn. But today I'm actually chatting to the founder of this business, getting right into the story of what frozen cheesecakes are all about. And it is going to be a great show. So thank you for joining us for the first episode of the new season of the FMCG podcast. So Joe, just over to you, mate. Tell us a bit about you and your story. Just give anyone listening and watching just that intro into why you're here today and what you're doing.
Yeah, absolutely. Cheers, Rich. So my name's Joe. I'm the founder of Pleese, formerly known as Pleese Cakes. My journey started about 6.5 years ago now. I was a painter and decorator, so completely self-taught in the food and beverage industry, but had a real passion for food. Brought up around really good food, love food, foodie at heart, love trying new foods, and I love being creative. So throughout my youth, I was very arty. I liked art. And music and things in that art sort of industry. So food was a real nice combination. And look, I was never really interested in actually baking or making food as such, just eating it for a long period of time. But my dad made a cheesecake like early in 2015 and I proceeded to make one. And this, I've told the story like a number of times now over the years, and it hopefully inspires other people. That's why I tell it so much, because you don't necessarily have to come from a background of a professional background, but it was led by passion. But my dad made a cheesecake one day, self-taught as well, and I proceeded to make one. And over a period of time, these were no-bake cheesecakes, so it was very easy entry into the baking world. You didn't have to be accurate, whereas you do with the actual baking, you have to be very, very accurate. And I started experimenting with flavors and flavor combinations and the look and the visuals, and I started bringing them to birthdays and friends and families events and just giving them away for free. So I was essentially losing money here for a number of years, for about 2 years, from about 2015 to 2017. And I just started getting really good feedback. There was no business ambition there at that stage. I was just really, I was really humbled by the feeling people were getting when they were eating the product. Although it was completely inefficient. I was buying these springform cake tins, and I couldn't get the metal base off the cheesecake every time. So I just give away the tin as well, and it was just completely inefficient as a business model. You have to buy a new tin every single time. So
Scrap dealers were loving you, Joe.
Yeah, I know. It was an awful business model, and even at the start when I launched, it was quite a bad business model because the product itself was a big, large cheesecake in 3 different sizes. Fully loaded with loads of toppings and chocolate bars and fruit and whatever it was. It was very delicate but very visual, very Instagrammable, but completely unscalable. Can't distribute this product across the country whatsoever. That was our biggest challenge. But anyway, I set up this Instagram account in 2017. I've still got the notepad in my office next door, and I started jotting down these notes, this very basic business plan of a cheesecake business, how I would sell, the distribution networks, the formats, the social media. No experience, but just putting it down on paper. And it was those small incremental action taking moments that kind of had built up to this launch of designing the logo on Canva, the app, and launching an Instagram account with the intention to sell 4 or 5 cakes a month, like just to make just a little side hustle on the painting and decorating business. And never did I imagine that it would turn into what it is today. It hasn't been an easy journey. It's been an incredibly hard journey, but it's been so exciting and at times hasn't felt like work. It's because I'm so passionate about it. It's still enjoyable even through the hard times. But we've done so many incredible things. I don't know how much we can cover in this short period of time that we've got. But look, we started on a direct to consumer model. And that grew the community. I think we've got over 2.1 million followers now in our community, which is insane. It's an incredible community, and I think social media has played a pivotal role in the growth of the company and the brand. and it's built from that direct to consumer. Soon identified that the product was just not scalable, switched over to try and focus on more robust products, products that are more easy to manufacture, distribute. And that kind of led us into exploring retail. And over a number of years, over probably the half of the lifetime of the company, so probably for the last 3 years, 3.5 years, we've been trying to get into retail or developing the product ready for retail.
Just taking you a while.
So
Then. It's not been an over the night, easy win. Then getting into
no,
retail. Yeah.
there was a little period of time where with COVID, which kind of like stood us still for about 2 years. So just before COVID, we were exploring retail and trying to outsource the production of the product and trying to reach out, and then it just kind of like went stood still, and we couldn't really move. So we had to just carry on with direct to consumer. But direct to consumer for a food product, in hindsight, is so complex. It's temperature controlled, which is the hardest thing. It requires so many other variables to make sure that it gets there at the right temperature in one piece. Dry ice, polystyrene boxes. It's an expensive process and makes it harder for the consumer to purchase. You have to set a minimum order quantity. You have to sell 3 tubs of freeze cakes at any one time, and that's 20-30 quid. It's not really accessible for the masses. So retail is
one of those as well. As like, is it the right shop for occasion? You're catching
exactly
that person
that. Yeah.
who wants a treat on a Friday.
Yeah, exactly that. So we were missing out on so many opportunities to convert people and buy the product. So direct to consumer, we are thinking about bringing it back in actually, but through a fulfillment center where we don't make the product, so it's more efficient and whatnot. But retail is obviously the main focus, and freeze cakes, the world's first frozen cheesecake, scoopable cheesecake in a tub, is our lead product. We've got a ton of our MPD pipeline is incredible and equally exciting as freeze cakes, but it's just focusing on 3 SKUs, trying to establish the brand in the market. We've done a complete rebrand. We've gone from Pleese cakes, which is just the cheesecakes, to Pleese, which is the overarching brand, which is going to house all these different concepts and product lines. Hopefully, we want to be multi-category, multi-sector.
Did you
obviously,
see?
And then
we did a podcast with Ollie's Olives like back in the day, just when he was getting big, and then he pivoted to Ollie's, and they absolutely exploded. And that is one of my favourite brands that's come through in the last few years, and it's just so on point, and it can pivot, and just the marketing's brilliant, and it's just great.
they're brilliant. Yeah, I've actually worked with them a few times. They've been down here. They've done some stuff with them.
That.
Yeah, they've done some stuff. They're a great team.
Yeah.
And like you say, just their marketing's really, really good. Great, done a great one with the crisps and Walkers recently, just starring out the letter L, I think. So it was really clever marketing. I think that sort of thing is so important to challenger brands these days. You need to have your marketing, your tone of voice, your personality. Is so key for brands. Having a face to the brand I think is equally as key as well. Brands tend to be quite cold and just corporate, and actually now these challenger brands, there's like these founders, and the founders are actually intertwined in the brand as well. Like you've got Ollie's and you've got the Perfect Heads and all those sort of companies that like are just the founder as well. It's really relatable, and it's that storytelling piece as well. So this story that I tell every time that I do a podcast or whatnot is so valuable to the brand as well. And I think that's you see that now in so many brands and founders. Their story, the journey of is so important.
Can I just dive back into that story there, Joe? Because there's a few things I want to unpack that are really interesting just on the timeline. Because a lot of people have reached out to say they listen to this who aren't actually in the UK and aren't even in food and drink at the moment, that they want to get into it. So I think your story is really inspiring, because one of the things we want to do with this podcast is not just inspire careers in FMCG that are more kind of, I guess orthodox in terms of the shape of them, but we also want to inspire just general kind of success in the industry. So that point when you set up yourself, like, do you mind me just asking, how did you do it? Was it family and friends you raised the funding from? Was it, bootstrapping from savings? Did you get a bank loan? I just love hearing that leverage point where people took the risk on initially. Like, how did you actually leverage going from paint a decorator with a bit of a side hustle that everyone loves to, all right, this is my thing, this isn't my side gig anymore, this is my day job? What was the moment for you?
It was instant, really. So I set up this Instagram account on the 3rd of January 2017, and the 6th, something happened. Obviously, there was a moment on the 6th of January where one of my friends, Joe Wicks, he's got a big following. He shouted out the page, but just to build context around this, because people think, okay, that's brilliant. Like you get exposed to like millions of people, and then you've got like it's just easy from there on. I was still operating in my parents' kitchen where there was like a dog, so I had no health. I couldn't operate out there as a business. Number one, I had no supply chain, no recipes. I didn't even have a recipe like structure. It was just like taste test. Oh, that tastes nice. Yeah, that will do. So I had nothing in place, no experience in like supply chain, packaging, distribution, logistics, anything like that. Nothing. I had nothing in place at all. So I got this shout out, and he exposed it to a lot of people, and we gained a lot of following on Instagram, where you could grow quite organically at that time, about 5 or 6 years ago. I instantly knew there was an opportunity there, so I knew I had to capitalize on that opportunity and build from there. But I had to jump ship basically from the painter and decorator. I had a business partner at the time, Brendan, who carried on running the business, the painting business a little bit. It was like this instant transition. I was making these cakes. I found we borrowed the kitchen down at Blacksburgers in Epsom, their commercial kitchen, started producing out of there, then soon found like a shared kitchen in Croydon, which I operated out for the first year. So things were moving very, very quickly at the start, and I just had to start just flapping about and just trying to get things done. There was another real sort of key moment for me was Ian Campbell, the ex-production manager of Greggs, was just made redundant. His daughter had seen us on Joe Wicks' social media, and he came on pretty much for the first year as well to help us with health and safety and production and all that sort of processes involved, which was invaluable if you think about it. Like, how could we have found someone so sort of perfect for the role that would come on almost free of charge to help us at that early stage? But in terms of funding the business, and it still is, like we're food, we're tangible, especially now inflation, all that. You need cash, you need money. So at the start, I got myself into a lot of debt on credit cards, about 40,000%. A lot went onto credit cards, and there was I was so naive with the funding side of things and how to really create an efficient business, and understand the margin of the product and all that. There was nothing. There was no real costing involved probably for the first year. I didn't really know my gross margin, my net profit in that first year. I was just kind of like getting the brand out there, getting the product out there, giving a lot of product away for free. It was a real building, sort of exposing year, which in turn is probably, like, there's two sides to that. It's probably not the right thing to do as business, but it did build the business quite quickly. So yeah, got myself into a lot of debt, got myself out of debt. The business grew. It grew through COVID quite. The revenue was we were really busy.
And did you have to trade your way out of debt? Did you restructure it with a loan? Like, what was the kind of, how did you make sure you went from that? Because I've seen a lot of businesses get to that point that we've done podcasts with that have just collapsed because they just haven't got the mechanics of the operations right. And often it's kind of seeing behind that veil. That's interesting to people because that's the challenge that people are going to have. They're going to have this idea, they're going to be a sales and marketing brain, but they're not an operations person. And you've got to be able to nail that as well. Otherwise you just can't scale.
Yeah, well, investment. I was actively looking for investment in the second year. So in 2018, I was going out to raise money.
Right.
I started exploring the crowdfunding route in early 2018. But then I got a call from the producer of Dragon's Den, and they said, "Do you want to come on the show?" I said, "No, I'm not sure about. I don't know, because look, early stage business, getting exposed to millions of people in primetime TVs, like it could be like suicide. It could be real catastrophic for the business, you know." So I decided to do it. I was like, it's one of those things. Let's just give it a go. There was this due diligence process. They checked the company out. I filmed in June of that year and it aired in September. And I got the offer. I got an offer from Tuka Suleiman, turned that down. Incredible time, like really, really incredible experience. They cut it down obviously to like 10 minutes, but what it gave me sort of this experience of pitching as well, like pitching for money, and just throwing yourself into the unknown. Like, I've never done this before. Like a year and a half ago, I was on building sites, rubbing down skirtings and like dusting off walls and whatnot and stuff like that. So a completely new experience, and I think that was another real key thing that I promised myself. I was just like, I'm going to do whatever I need to do to build the business, and like being on social media in front of the camera was never natural to me, and
No.
pitching and being on TV and doing this morning and all that sort of stuff was just never it was not a natural thing, and it still really isn't. It's not like my natural comfort zone, but I do it because it takes me out of the comfort zone. But got the offer. I didn't accept it because it was a pretty rubbish offer. It was £50,000 for 35% of the business, and even then I knew like that's not the 50 grand is not going to really touch the sides.
Yeah, because let's
And
be
I've
honest,
given away.
that's a bank loan, isn't it? That's not really
Yeah,
equity loan, is it?
and I and yeah, and 35% of the business was just like no.
Yeah.
So politely declined that, and then off the back of that, got some investment from sort of like local networks. So like friends raised about I raised about 160 grand that year. And that kind of kept us going. We moved into this place off the back of this. It's a 4,000 square foot kitchen. I thought at that stage, again, naivety. I thought, look, I'm going to scale up manufacturing. I'm going to do brand. I'm going to do MPD. I'm going to do everything in a house. And it was just, again, it gave us control on the product, gave us agility to put out new products and innovation very quickly. And that again built our community quite quickly as well, because we were just like people just interested in what we were doing all the time. But in fact, looking back again, I had this like this avenue, these two avenues I could have gone down. It's manufacturing or brand building and MPD, and like the manufacturing side of things I've got no experience in at all, and it's high risk. You need high investment, millions to set up a bigger factory,
Yeah.
and to gain certain accreditations to service the retailers. Then it's like a ton of people management as well, and training, and like there's a lot that goes into like manufacturing. So like 2 years in, 3 years in, I was like, I need to outsource the production so I can focus on building the brand, and then focusing on the creative side of things and doing the new product development, coming up with the creative ideas for the products like the truffles, and then trying to find a partner to put that product through freeze cakes, then trying to find a partner to put that product through. That was the easiest or lowest risk way of scaling the business, although the margins we knew were going to come down and become tighter on that model. It was always going to be the safest for the company to scale. So raised 160 grand, got here, did a load of production for a couple of years through COVID, and then was actively looking to outsource the production, which was a hard decision. It was really hard because we scaled up the team. We were at about 30 people in house with production and with logistics and all those sort of things, loads of different departments. And then because we've outsourced production, it's obviously come back down to just 4 people now. So
Yeah.
it's been a real growth and then like retraction kind of thing, but then we're still growing at the same time as well. So
Really
I think we
interesting.
found our feet, and the kind of model that we want to build off now. It's just a new set of challenges
So have
in
you
retail.
found, because I mean that is fascinating, the fact that you've kind of gone through that sort of balloon development, of a big team, big offices, and then you just kind of scaled down again. Has it? I mean, it must have been, because otherwise you wouldn't have done it. But has that been good for A, your sort of bandwidth as an entrepreneur, and B, your margin? Because that's the killer question, isn't it? Do you have the headspace to do what you need to do, and are you making more cash?
So number one, it helped my mental health really.
Yeah.
So I was it the business was very stressful up until like the end of last year, really. Like I was having panic attacks. I thought I was going to die one day. I was on the phone to Sam, my director of operations, and I dropped to the floor. I was like, I'm having a heart attack. I think I'm going to die. Like, and that was down to
I've
stress.
had
And
that
Dan
experience
actually,
before myself, mate. It's horrible. It's awful.
it's like if you've never had a panic attack, like you think, oh yeah, panic attack, like you like, get a little bit breathy. You feel like if you've never had it before, you feel like you're going to die. Like
Oh,
you think
yeah,
this is it. Like you're gonna. Dan rushed me to the hospital, and luckily it was just a panic attack. It wasn't a heart attack, but that was brought on by the stress of the business, 100%. And that having it outsourced now, I don't have the stress of managing that side of the business, production and a ton more people, has been a real weight off my shoulders.
It's good.
In terms of the margin, they're obviously at their tightest point now because we're in a couple of retailers, but the distribution's not at 10,000 distribution points yet.
Yeah.
It's not across all the retailers. We've only got 3 SKUs. 2 SKUs are in one retailer. Only one of the retailers has got 3 SKUs. So we are in worst case scenario at the moment, but we're still making a margin on the product. So we've got a clear path to improving that and improving profitability. But the thing was get listings, get the product out there, get the products into people's mouths, build that community in retail, get the repeat, and it starts building like that. So
you could almost, like, I guess if you could summarize, then you kind of basically freed up the brain space, so you can now concentrate on this is a distribution, sales, and marketing game. I know what the game is, I know what the rules are, and actually, almost the pathway's clear, isn't it? Like, I've just got to ramp up that distribution, and I've just got to get the word out about Pleese, and that's my goal. That's what I zone in on every day.
Absolutely, and actually, like, it's really encouraging the launch. We only launched into Waitrose and Co-op about 15 weeks ago, three or 4 months ago, and it's all sales have come through pretty much organic social media.
Turns out my family love your product. I started following you on Insta yesterday after trying it. It's like, this is just mint, and then I was like, oh, I recognise all these people following it, liking it, saying they've tried it. It's my cousins, mint.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's really encouraging. That shows the strength in our community. You know, we're not viral like Prime or these like Little Moons or something like that just yet. You know, but it's been a really encouraging start, and now we've done a bit of in-store promotion. Like, it goes on promotion, like whatever it is, you have to commit to a certain amount of promotion per year. Yeah. But now we're actually going through. This is the time now. We've fixed our base. Yeah. Of sort of our benchmark, and now it's time to fuel the fire, really. So we are going through another round of investment to raise money, and that is really going to try and be focused on exposing the brand, marketing to new people outside of our social media, because all we're doing with social media is just hitting the same people every time. We're like, here's our product, buy, and it's not really effective long term. You need to be reaching more people, you know. Hit social media now and again, 80-20, we kind of split. We try and do 80 value, 20 sales. So we're bringing recipes, tutorials, like a bit of value through social media rather than just selling.
Same for us.
And now exactly that. And we need to reach people outside of the community now. So we've never really raised a big ticket before. We've raised money, but it's been like a couple of $100,000 here and there. So we are going for the biggest ticket we've gone for, and that's going to really give us a nudge, really help us with expanding.
And are you pushing crowdfunding, or are you pushing institutional investment, or VCs? What's the...
Yeah, VC, angel, kind of like, we're going to keep it private this round, and that's hopefully going to get us to really establish the UK market. You know, I think
just on that, I don't know if you've ever followed the story of Kettlebell Kitchen in Manchester, but that's kind of like almost a case study in an entrepreneur getting absolutely screwed over by the investors, and it's like one of them.
I haven't heard that. No.
Look into it like it's a horror show.
Okay.
I mean, she's done really well now. I think she's set up a couple of other businesses with her partner, and they've had a baby, and it's a bad story gone good, so it's not depressing. But my gosh, they put her through the ringer. Like, how have you been navigating what can be an absolute shark tank full of, you know, pirates, basically?
I have got some good people around me.
That's good.
I've got investors already. So I've got a couple of investors that have done food before, in the food industry. I've got a non-exec who's on the board, Ollie Horner, who's co-founder of Hippies snacking brand.
Oh yeah, brilliant.
I'm working with someone from Unilever, the ex ice cream global category manager, who's helped me with a bit of strategy as well. So I've got a soundboard. I've got some good people around me, and I think that's so important. You know, like, there's so much noise out there, and like you say, there's sharks out there that want to get you and want to. I've had people try and infiltrate the company a few times now, and there's been some moments where I thought, okay, this is actually really quite scary, and it could have ended the company, and it could have done some really bad things to the company. You know, so it's always so important to have some really important people. It's a
balancing act, isn't it? As a founder, you want to have that kind of disarmingly honest sort of window into your journey, but also you've got to have a big BS radar, haven't you? Because, you know, not everyone's out there to help your journey on, are they?
I think the one thing that I've learned is just trust no one. Like, it's quite a cold sort of
sorry, love.
But I think you've got to have a healthy level of paranoia in business. You've got to be cautious about everything. And that trust no one thing is, like, in business, unfortunately, people are not out to get you, but if it doesn't benefit them, or if they've got to save themselves, they will. You're not their first the priority, and I think it is a bit of a you have to grow a thick skin. You have to be resilient, and I think that's one thing that one of my traits, I suppose, is that resilience piece. Is like just keep going, whatever happens, even those hard times. I've got this you build up this, like, you program your brain to, like, just keep going.
Yeah.
At any point in a journey, a startup journey, it's like a knife edge. Like, you got failure one side and you got success the other side, and it's such a fine line. And at any point, even big companies, but especially startups, because of the fragility of them, and the amount of nurturing they need. It's like, you can fail at any point on any day. And I think, again, just going back to that healthy level of paranoia, always be on your A game, always be on the ball, making sure you're covering all bases. Like, just, you need to be on it all the time, kind of thing.
You've got to be
But having this balance,
almost a parent to your business, haven't you? Just
you do,
pocket out for bad actors. Yeah.
Yeah, so yeah, like you say, you humanize it. You have to, kind of thing. You have to keep it going. It needs feeding all the time. It needs looking after all the time. If you neglect it, it doesn't survive.
No. And just on that point, because there's two things that will be really interesting to people listening. So I'll just, the first one, so the mental health bit, I mean, it's obviously current at the moment. Now, I've noticed there's two trends. You've almost got, like, some people, they take the stoic approach, run through walls, and other people, they want to talk. Now, I think wisdom's somewhere in the middle, but, like, what concrete strategies have you found have helped you, like, build your head back together? Because I've had a bad time in my head before. It's pretty common when you chat to entrepreneurs, like, most people have been through that chapter, and often sometimes the success of your business comes down to how much you can somehow cope with this release mechanism, with the amount of pressure on you. But also, you've got to have a bit of that pressure, a bit of that fire under your feet, otherwise you don't move it forward. So how have you sort of managed to thread the needle on that one? Because it's not easy, it's a balance.
Yeah, I think there's a few things, and something that's really helped me is exercise.
Nice.
Just exercise, and I think that's a really, like, I've always liked exercise, but as soon as I don't do exercise for a period of time, and I start falling into a few bad habits, eating a bit badly, maybe drinking too much alcohol, you start noticing your mental health a little bit. Everything's a little bit of a struggle. You got a bit of a fuzzy head. You haven't got that clarity. So I think for me, it's like just having a balance, just a balance of everything in moderation, balance, being active, going out walking, going to the gym, eating good, nutritious food. I mean, I run a dessert company, so it's all about balance. I love a dessert, and I think that's really important to have that balanced approach to life. And when I get that right, when I'm on that balance, that nice, that happy medium, I think I feel like anything that comes my way, anything that's challenging in business or even outside of business, just life in general, I'm more prepared. I feel like I'm more prepared mentally for that. So I think that's really important. Really, really important.
Really interesting, yeah. And then the second one, which kind of related to it, kind of builds on it, and you allude to it there. So you've kind of 2017 to now I think it's like 6 years in. Obviously, this kind of incredible, like, up down journey. Got to a point where you've got an advice team around you. You've almost got that inner circle. Second round of funding. You've learned a lot of lessons. You know what the focus is. Like, how have you got the balance between allowing people to influence you with their advice but maintaining control as the founder? Because, again, it's like those two polar extremes where you've got the kind of headstrong, arrogant founder there that knows it all, and then over there you've got the person that questions themselves so much that they lose A, the control, and B, the vision. Like, what have you done in terms of, like, concrete actions to sort of maintain that tricky balance?
I think over the years I have it's a bit of a trial and error process, like, generally I try and go with my gut, what I really genuinely feels right. I think that's really important. You got to trust your instinct in business, and because I'm so immersed in the business, in the brand, in the product, like, I'm one of the only people that know the business inside out. Like, I know more about the business than anyone else. So it's not like having outside advice is great, but I take it with a pinch of salt because I know they don't know everything. And as an example, been having conversations around investment and stuff like that, and someone's had one conversation with one person, and they've kind of, like, devalued the business and like given some, like, sort of negative sentiment around it, and I'm like, okay, that's fine. I kind of predicted that. You've had one conversation with that person. I don't get that. I'm not expecting that person to get the business entirely with one conversation. So based on that, like I don't take that and be like, oh my god, that's really negative advice. But I'm just like, you don't really know the business just yet, and that's not being me being protective. That's just me being completely immersed in the business and understanding where we're at this stage, and understanding the pipeline and the opportunities and the people that we're speaking to outside of that one conversation. So trusting my gut is really key, and then just having a really good, like, this network of people around you that I've worked with for a number of years now, and having that trust with them as well. You know, when it's kind of like everyone's puts their ideas in, and then we go, okay, yeah, that's actually really a really important point. Let's build off that.
Yeah.
Or I don't really agree with that. How can we then change it to work this way, kind of thing, you know? So I think, yeah, just trusting my gut on that, you know, like there's an element of naivety that just helps me as well. Like I'm naive. I don't know really what I'm doing. I'm kind of winging it. I've never built a food business before in my life. I've never done social media before I've done this business. There's various things that I've never done before, but I'm just kind of doing, and it's kind of working a little bit. Like we make a ton of mistakes all the time. Like nothing's perfect in this business at all. And if it was, we'd be somewhere different maybe, or whatever. But it's just trust, just go with my gut and really following my passion and believing what I'm doing, kind of thing. So.
No, that is really interesting. I just wanted to circle back into the products, because I just got so interested in the story there, kind of missed the product spotlight, which I really want to do for people, because you need to try this product. Honestly, I'm not just saying that like because it's my podcast and Joe's here, but genuinely, I tried it yesterday. There's nothing like it in the market. It's not just another B&G's. It's not just a copycat product. Joe, just tell us what makes these cheesecakes so good, what flavours you've got, and why do they need to buy some and try some?
The freeze cakes.
Yes.
These are a little tub. Then these are not out yet, but these are. It's frozen cheesecake. It was an idea. So the idea came about in March of 2017, so 3 months after launching Pleese Cakes. And the way the idea came about was we were freezing down our big cheesecakes and sending them out. And I thought I tried one day when it was frozen. It was like it was nice. It was like a bit like an ice cream, but like denser, like a cheesecake. And I created these little sort of like choc ices, like cheesecakes finger things, and I coated them in chocolate. And so the initial concept was like a choc ice cheesecake, you know, that sort of like on the go kind of thing. And it kind of got shelved for a number of years because all the other products were going on and things were scaling and whatever. But in March or in 2020, when lockdown happened, events cancelled. It gave us a little bit of time to develop the product. And actually, it's a really complex product to develop. You know, it's not just a cheesecake mix in a tub. To make it scoopable is really hard. You know, like we made it in a house for a year, which was obviously a little bit easier, but we didn't really do anything like any long term like because it's got a shelf life of 18 months or 2 years, whatever it is. We didn't do it. We couldn't do that testing in house, so it was always the focus to outsource the manufacturing side of things. So we went to ice cream manufacturers who could pot it, but they couldn't make the mix. And we went to frozen dessert manufacturers who can make it but couldn't pot it. But essentially, it is a cheesecake. It is 40% cream cheese, with inclusions and sauces in it. It's the first format of about four different formats from Freeze Cakes. So it's not only going to be in a tub format, which is really exciting. And that was always the again, like the vision of the product. But yeah, it's denser. It's completely different to ice cream. It's not ice cream. We get compared to ice cream because it's in an ice cream format. It sits in frozen dessert, the category, which is where we thought the opportunity was. You know, frozen dessert is across the retail is in decline. Like, it's an aging demographic. It's an older demographic in those categories. It's the product offering is kind of dated and a little bit like old school Viennettas. Nothing wrong with the Viennetta. It's like jam roly polies, apple strudel. You know, like, there's nothing really exciting going on in that category. So we thought, look, there's the opportunity. Let's bring some newness, some innovation into the category. Ice cream, soft serve especially, is about 60-70% air. So it's very aerated. That's why you get the volume on it. This is like 15% or something. So you need a bit of air to make it scoopable, but it's much denser. You're getting more product for your money, basically. And it sits in frozen dessert. So I don't think it could sit in ice cream, but it is in an ice cream format. So
yeah. It's brilliant. I absolutely love trying it. It's just fantastic. The of the two flavors, I thought I was gonna like it was salted caramel and the lemon and raspberry, isn't it? These flavors. So I thought I was gonna prefer salted caramel, but the lemon and raspberry, I just thought was amazing. Like the smell on that when you opened it, I don't know how you nailed it, but I could smell the lemon and the raspberry at the same time. Now normally when you get a dessert or something sweet which has got fruit flavors, it'll be like apple and ginger or whatever it is. You can normally smell or taste one thing and then it's just a side taste. But you've absolutely nailed this like double barreled shotgun in your face, like dual flavour action. I just thought that was mint, like genuinely, like hats off to you. Like the kind of whoever's done the flavours on that, credit to them. It's really, really good.
But they were our three original flavours. They're the three flavours that we launched with the double chocolate, which you haven't tried, which I think that's actually one of my favourites. The double chocolate.
I'll have to get onto that.
That's only stocked in Waitrose though. But look, we've been through to scale up as well. This was the next challenge. Was like we went through we were making these pots in house here, handmade. So like mixing the cheesecake mix in a mixer,
well,
putting it into a piping bag, piping some cheesecake mix in, then hand sprinkling some inclusions, hand piping some sauce in, and like layering it up. So you can imagine how manual that is. That's like very time consuming. Like the max we could do was our output was about 1,000 pots a week. Like that was our max output. And to scale that up to put it through a completely automated production line was, I think we've been to about 400 or 500 samples, like just to give some context around how hard it was to achieve like the same quality and the build-ups and sources.
And you have to run your business in your kitchen at the same time.
Yeah, that's what I mean. And like you look at like Ben and Jerry's and people like that who are like multi-billion-dollar companies who have got the resource and capital to just like develop, like they do like 200 or 300 different flavors a year and they whittle it down to like 4. Like we haven't got that resource. We're a startup challenger brand with 4 people in the team, so yeah, it's exciting but also challenging at the same time, so really hard to scale up. Our capabilities are not limited to this. Like we're looking at putting bigger inclusions in and more sauce and layering it up again, and the machine is completely bespoke for freezecake. So we finally found a manufacturer who installed a completely bespoke production line for freezecakes to manufacture this.
That is exciting. Just owning that kind of
exactly that. So entry to like own label now, like I don't know who's going to do it. Someone's going to probably try and do it. We have spoken to a lot of the retailers who want the product our own label. So it's interesting, huh?
Don't do it.
Yes, and interestingly you say that because we were going through a round of investment like last year or the year before, 2021, and we nearly got an investment from Warburton's, the cake company and the bread company. And I went up to meet Jonathan Warburton in London and have meetings, and it was very close. They put in an offer, but then one of the cousins pulled out, and because they don't operate in the frozen category, they didn't think they could add value. But one thing Jonathan did say to me in that meeting was, don't do own label. Just said, whatever you do, don't do own label. Whether it's hard because it's attractive for a small business to put volume through and to own the market as well. But for me, it's all about establishing the brand and making sure that the brand is one step ahead of anything really. So
you just end up, it's almost like you've just signed on the death knell of becoming a manufacturer, haven't you? Which is fine if that's what you want to do. It makes sense. But if you are that sales and marketing person, you clearly are. Like, oh yeah, I'd be good if I saw you doing private label, because I mean, I recruit for loads of private label companies and I absolutely love it. And it's a fantastic, fascinating marketplace, but it's just a different game, isn't it? And people struggle. I think the businesses that do both well are a minority. Most people that dominate either do brand or they do private label, and they do it very, very well. And that squeeze middle, I mean, crikey, trying to do that as a startup would be an absolute head mash, wouldn't it?
It would be very challenging, and like you say, what it could eat into the brand, and it could cannibalize the brand, but I think with us, when we're launching innovative products, so it needs to be led by brand. I think if own label tried to own innovation, well, they do bring out innovation, but they come in fads and like small chunks of time. They bring out a bit of innovation. It doesn't really stick. It doesn't have that stickiness to it. Whereas brand, people build up that trust and they buy into the brand, not just the innovation. So I think innovation needs to be led by brand, and I think that's our main focus, is to bring innovation to the market.
And just last question, I'm very aware of eating into your day here, Joe, but
that's right.
takeaway, Deliveroo, Get Here, quick commerce, any sort of interesting plans in that area? Because that is pretty buzzy, isn't it, at the moment? Dark kitchens, there's a whole new vista of opportunities to explore.
Yeah, absolutely. I think we used to be stocked on Deliveroo in the addition hubs, and we are speaking to a few of them again.
Yeah.
We are also different sectors as well. So we're speaking to food service. So although we've got the big tub at the moment, we've got some other sort of formats to come. But food service is a big one. Like travel, getting these little tubs onto airlines and trains and things like that is really key for us. But yeah, those sort of platforms are really, really key for us because we can communicate. Like, it's a real easy conversion to our community. You know, it's like, click this link, buy it here. And that's something that with retail is a little bit of a harder. That's our challenge at the moment, is to get people up off their sofa and into the store. You know, it's a harder journey for us. So having that omni-channel, that cross-channel kind of thing is really key for us.
Nice. So, no, that's fantastic. Look, just very, very, very last kind of thing then. So socials, you're on Pleese, aren't you, here? That's the one.
That's the one, yeah.
That's you. So
and on TikTok.
And TikTok as well. So everyone can, and then what's your handle on TikTok?
It's actually Pleese Cakes at the moment, but we're trying to get it swapped over. It's taken like about a year we're still speaking to them, but yeah, Pleese Cakes on TikTok.
Yeah. Well, look, thanks, Joe. It's been an absolute blast. Really enjoyed it. Thank you so much for just your candour and kind of honesty in your journey. It's been really valued by me, and I'm sure everybody listening and watching would appreciate it as well. If you've watched it, if you've enjoyed it, please reach out. Thank Joe for his time. Anyone on this show is doing it just because they want to invest in you. They want to invest in your passion for the sector and your career. So please do thank Joe for all his insights and his honesty and his time. And most importantly, go out there, follow the socials, and try Pleese Cakes. They will not disappoint. They will absolutely make magic for you on your Friday or Saturday evening, maybe even Thursday. Could be a Thursday treat as well. Just get stuck in and let us know what you think of the product. Thank you very much, Joe. Speak to you soon.
Cheers, Rich. Cheers, mate.